This is CBC News. Good morning, I'm Pat Philpott. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has broken his leg in a bicycle accident in France. He crashed after hitting a curb. State Department officials say he was flown by helicopter to a hospital in Geneva. Kerry had been in Switzerland for ongoing talks over Iran's nuclear program. The State Department official says Kerry was in stable condition and is in good spirits, but he's cancelled visits to Madrid and Paris to return to Boston for further treatment. Members of Canada's Disaster Assistance Response Team are returning home today from Nepal. DART was sent there shortly after an earthquake in late April killed more than 8,000 people. Meanwhile, thousands of schools damaged in Nepal's earthquake have started reopening. More than 25,000 classrooms across the country were destroyed by the quake. Joanna Jolly has more.
Families across the earthquake-affected areas of Nepal have been looking forward to this day, when their children can begin to return to a normal routine. Many of the schools destroyed or damaged during the quake have been replaced by temporary structures made from bamboo, wood and tarpaulin. The government has said instead of formal lessons, children will be encouraged to participate in group activities to help them recover psychologically from the trauma of the disaster. More than 8,000 people died during the quake, and hundreds of thousands were left homeless.
That's the BBC's Joanna Jolly in Nepal. The son of U.S. Vice President Joe Biden has died. Beau Biden was diagnosed with brain cancer 2 years ago. He was given a clean bill of health last November following treatment, but his cancer returned earlier this year. Biden was Delaware's Attorney General for 8 years and had announced plans to run in that state's election for governor next year. Beau Biden was 46 years old. A large demonstration is planned for Ottawa later today over the legacy of the residential school system. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which has been examining the issue, is due to release its report this week. The head of the inquiry has already been discussing his findings. Justice Murray Sinclair says school children who went through the residential school system were treated as subhuman, and he said at least 6,000 died from disease and malnourishment.
As commissioners, we have concluded that cultural genocide is probably the best description of what went on here. But more importantly, that if anybody tried to do this today, they would easily be subject to a prosecution under the Genocide Convention in a world court.
The Truth and Reconciliation Commission has spent 6 years hearing from witnesses and survivors of the church-run, government-funded system. Residential schools operated in Canada between the 1870s and the 1990s. 2 British banks have launched an internal review into whether they were used by FIFA officials for corrupt payments. According to BBC News, Barclays and Standard Chartered were mentioned in the U.S. charges against FIFA officials. Now the bank is accused of wrongdoing. And lastly, in hockey, the Stanley Cup Final is now set. The Chicago Blackhawks will take on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Chicago defeated the Anaheim Ducks in Game 7 of their series last night. Steve Butterman has more.
The Blackhawks were never seriously threatened. They eventually took a 4-0 lead before Anaheim could get on the scoreboard. The star of the game was Chicago's captain Jonathan Taves. He scored the first 2 goals and got lots of praise from Blackhawk coach Joe Quenneville.
He's a threat every time he touches the puck out there, and tonight he was great.
Taves says the Blackhawks were never intimidated by Anaheim's far better regular season record.
We come into a playoff series against a tough team. You know, we just have that idea of why not us, and we find ways to win.
For the Blackhawks, they are now in the final for the 3rd time in 6 seasons. Game 1 against Tampa Bay is Wednesday night. Steve Futterman, CBC News, Anaheim.
And you can catch that game on CBC television Wednesday night beginning at 8 o'clock Eastern. And that's CBC News. I'm Pat Philpott.
Hello, I'm Dan Reinish, and